Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Rats on the Rink. This is episode 1, so for me, it's a big thing. I am sitting here in my closet. My jerseys and my Hawaiian shirts are providing lovely sound dampening. I think I'm getting pretty good audio quality for the rookie debut here. So, before we kind of get into exploring the Panthers news, the only people who know who I am are my parents, who are definitely listening right now because they love me. I love you too, parents. So, my name is Zach. I am going to be a college senior at Belmont University in lovely, lovely Nashville, Tennessee. As far as hockey goes, I am a lifelong Florida Panthers fan, at least from the time that I'm old enough to remember. My family moved here, or not here, rather to South Florida in 2000. And I grew up from the time I was too young to even stay up through the whole game. I remember watching Pavel Bure, watching Jussi Jokinen, Stephen Weiss, David Booth, Roberto Luongo the first time, and then some of the kind of low-light players. Jared Smithson. Everybody remember Jared Smithson? I watched Jared Smithson. So man, I love this team, and I want to work in radio. I want to try and get some skills going as an on-air guy, and the only way to do that is to grab a mic, to start performing, to start kicking some booty, and to start knocking out some podcasts. So I figured, man, I love the Panthers here from Nashville. It's hard for me to find good Panthers media as somebody who doesn't live in South Florida. So I'm like, all right, Steve Goldstein, all right, Doug Plagans, I'm joining you. I'm going to join the ranks here. So here I am, officially now a member of the ranks. I'm going to see if I can build up some rapport, build an audience, and get something good going here in my closet. But until then, this for me, everything is a learning experience, right? I've never recorded a podcast before, and this is episode 1. So I'm going to need a lot of listener feedback. I'm going to, hopefully my parents will provide some loving criticism. But you, dear listener, I want to hear your criticism as well. I'm going to be posting this everywhere. I'm going to have it on SoundCloud. I'm going to be spamming it out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, the whole 9 yards. So no matter where you're listening from, no matter how this came across your ears, I want to hear your feedback. I want to talk about things that you want to hear about, and I want to kind of be thoughtful and analytical and kind of provide a good voice of Florida Panthers commentary. I feel like a lot of the Panthers talk nationally is garbage. It's overly critical of the team, and the team deserves to be criticized. Obviously, if they were the perfectly run organization, there would be many, many banners hanging from the rafters at the BB&T Center. That is not the case. So there's plenty of deserved criticism. But I feel like the kind of the ins and outs and the day-to-day stuff does not get covered very well, or really at all. And I feel like the kind of the positive things of the Panthers don't get covered very often, unless their name is Jaromir Jagr. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be that guy. Help me be that guy. So yeah, I think without further ado, we can get into this. I think we're sitting pretty at 4 minutes, so that's pretty fun as far as introductions go. So the first thing I want to talk about is, guys, I don't know if you knew this, but the Panthers were not very good last year, and they were not very good in a couple of ways. Now, I'm sitting here in front of me. I'm looking at this. It's a heat map. Now, for those of you who don't know what a heat map is, this heat map is from @ineffectivemath on Twitter, hockeyviz.com. This is just what it says at the top of the banner here. Now, what the heat map does is it calculates an average of chances of where NHL teams are deriving their shots on goal from. This is unblocked shots for each team relative to the league average for the season. So I'm sitting here looking at 2016-17 Florida Panthers heat map, and where the Panthers are above average is at the point at the right and left. And very much so at the right. So guys like Aaron Ekblad are taking a lot of shots. Guys like Alex Petrovic are taking a lot of shots. That's where the majority of the shooting is coming from. Now there's a big blue cold dot right in front of the net. It's bad. It's somewhere around 6 shots on goal fewer relative to league average, and that's per 60 minutes. So over the course of a 60-minute game, fewer unblocked shots for coming right in front of the net. Though, that's awful. That's not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to get off on a bad foot here. I'm going to criticize this team. They are not good at getting shots in front of the net. They're shooting a lot from the outside, and as much of a cannon as some of their defensemen have, you cannot rely on the majority of your goal scoring to come from shooting outside from the point. It's not even like they were shooting from close in. They're shooting from the dot, from above the dot, and then up to the blue line, above average. So that to me is an indication that their defensemen are shooting a lot from the outside. Just like any sport where there's a ball that goes into a net, you have to try and get as close as you possibly can. That's not news. That's not any kind of amazing insight. So the Panthers really dropped the ball last year. Now, I'm looking at a tweet from Cats on the Prowl on Twitter, who posted this heat map. That's where I got it from. They also posted the Pittsburgh Penguins shooting from this year. And if I can bring this up, theirs, and you can find this on Twitter, theirs is bright red basically everywhere in front of the net. They generated a colossal amount of scoring from in front of the net. And that's what having good forwards who can dominate defensemen do, right? You generate chances in front of the net. Additionally, they have pale blue spots at each of the right and left points, which shows that their defensemen are not shooting the puck. However, when they do, they're shooting it from dead center, right in front of the net. Basically, what this map looks like is a really bright red spot right in front of the net, and then some like cooler red kind of in the middle of the ice, like where the hash marks are, leading up to the top of the blue line. And in the center of the blue line, again, there's another bright red dot. So what that tells me is that the Penguins are good at generating offense in front of the entire net, that whole like Royal Road area. That's where your shots have to come from if you're going to score a lot of goals. And lo and behold, the Penguins score a ton of goals, right? I mean, they are Stanley Cup champions for a reason, and their offense is certainly dynamic and a big part of that. Now, this is even strength, mind you. So this is not even including their stellar power play, and this is besides the point of the Panthers' lackluster power play. This is just 5-on-5, all the stuff that I've been talking about. Now, looking at last year's heat map, it's very similar. So to me, this is getting to the kind of the point. This is to prove a point about some of the recent news stories that have come out about the Panthers, namely the players that they lost in the expansion draft and the buyout of Jussi Jokinen, and also declining to accept another year of Jaromir Jagr. So I'm going to touch on all these. The heat map, we're going to go back to it because it's important. It shows where the Panthers are really lacking. And it is no surprise to anybody who has watched this team. It is their scoring. It is their forwards. So there's been a lot of talk amongst the fan base about Jonathan Marschessault. 30-goal scorer. How could you let him go? 30-goal scorer, 30-goal scorer, 30-goal scorer. And you know what? 30-goal scorer. You're darn right. He was the Panthers' first and the only 30-goal scorer since David Booth did it in 2009. However, I think the fact that David Booth was the last 30-goal scorer in Panthers history brings up an interesting point. Jonathan Marchessault is not going to score 30 goals again. He's not. He's not going to do it. I love him. I'm glad that he was able to hit 30 last year. He's not going to hit 30 again. He wouldn't have done it on the Panthers. He certainly wouldn't have done it on Las Vegas. It's just not going to happen. Let me bring up his stats here. Jonathan Marchessault, I believe, had a pretty high shooting percentage as far as NHL guys go this summer. So the team average is around 9%. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what we got. So the NHL average is around 9%. That's team-wide shooting percentage. So you figure the average save percentage is 91, and the average shooting percentage is around 9, and that kind of changes year to year. But it's as far as making a judgment, that's pretty fair. That's pretty. I think pretty standard practice. So average shooting percentage is 9%. Jonathan Marschessault this year shot 15.5%. And again, he shot 15.5% not in front of the net, right? Because the Panthers were really bad at generating shots in front of the net. So he had 30 goals, was still a minus 21, and he shot at a ludicrous clip. That's like Sidney Crosby doesn't even shoot at a 15%. So he has a high shooting percentage, and I think that's because he's a good shooter. But like nobody shoots. Alex Ovechkin shoots at around I think 10 or 11%. So he's above average, and he takes a ton of shots, which is why he scores a ton of goals. But 15% is not sustainable for any player in the NHL. He will not score 30 goals next season. Now, the Panthers wanted to protect the reason why they were okay with losing him. He's not going to score 30 goals, and also they wanted to protect defensemen because their defense is actually pretty darn good. The premium positions in the league where it's hardest to get depth at is right shooting defensemen and centers. The Panthers have good centers. They have good right shot defensemen. So it makes sense that they'd want to protect those guys. They wanted to protect their top 4D, Petrovic. They had to protect Yandel. Obviously Ekblad. They didn't have to protect Matheson, but they wanted to protect Pysyk. And so they wanted to leave their defense intact. Marschessault, it was apparent that he was not going to reach the same heights, that this was kind of a one-and-done kind of thing for him. And so they let him go. It would have been nice to maybe get something for him, but every player had to lose someone in the expansion draft. And again, the Panthers were not very good last year. They could not put the puck in the net, and Jonathan Marschessault he's not going to be a 30-goal scorer again. So even though he's on a good contract, I think it's an okay guy to have go. They could have handled it better. I'm going to throw a bone out there to the critics because I'm kind of stuck on this one, kind of lukewarm on this one, and only time is going to tell to see how this one pans out. But with the expansion draft, Jonathan Marschessault, question mark. He's a question mark. I didn't want to see him go, but somebody had to go, and again, not going to repeat his performance, so let him go. The other thing that had some people scratching their heads was the Panthers sending Reilly Smith to Vegas for a 4th-round draft pick. To me, that's a pure salary dump move. You could say, why didn't you get more for it? Why didn't you get more for it? They were just trying to get the salary off the books. Reilly Smith, again, had a mediocre year. He's kind of a proven roughly 20-goal guy, but it was clear that he had a lucky season, that a lot of guys on that 103-point Atlantic Division champion team, they had very lucky seasons. They kind of came crashing back down to earth this season. It was a rude awakening, and things were made worse by a variety of kind of management instability, coaching instability, Tom Rowe, and that whole thing. But Reilly Smith did not have a good season, and I think it's clear that the group that they put together, even though they gave them they gave a lot of guys contracts that they didn't deserve after that spectacular performance, and Reilly Smith was one of those guys. He's a guy you probably want on your team, but not for what the Panthers were paying him, and so they decided to move him, dump him, and I think that they've smartly reinvested that money. We're going to get there soon. So the Jokinen buyout, we're just gonna keep rolling, guys. The Jokinen buyout, again, guy who was typically a 40 to 50 point guy, scored 28 last year, crashing down to earth. Underperforming guy who is overpaid on a team that Dale Talon has said is looking to get faster, looking to get younger. Dale's trying to update the pace of play to what the current NHL demands, and update the style that the team plays to the current NHL's demands. Having big, slow guys, even if they have good mitts, even if they have a good shot, it will not get the puck to the high-scoring areas. They failed dreadfully to get pucks to high-scoring areas last year. So I'm okay with shaking things up. You know, Jokinen is, in my mind, not a core player. Riley Smith, in my mind, is not a core player. The core was good. The other pieces are what you use to get the most out of your core. They were not good. Riley Smith did not have a good year. Expendable. See ya. Jokinen did not have a good year. Expendable. See ya. Jonathan Marschessault had a good year. Not going to have another year like that. See ya. So that's where we're at with the shedding. Now, what they did with that money was bring in 2 key free agents. They brought in some guys to fill in the AHL forward spot. Again, they needed more scoring from the AHL guys too, which is why a lot of the prospects they brought up had trouble scoring. They had trouble scoring in the AHL. They got called up, had trouble scoring in the NHL. No surprises. So they signed a bunch of depth guys, which me seems like they're going to integrate some more of the young guys into the NHL roster. And also they're going to shake things up and try and get a better developmental squad down in the AHL, which is good. So they made those moves, but they also brought in 2 key guys. They brought in Radim Vrbata and they brought in Evgeny Dadonov. Vrbata is a 30-goal guy. He's a 20-goal guy. He had 20 goals last year with the Arizona Coyotes, playing basically third-line minutes, playing like 16 minutes a night. 20-goal guy, led the team in points, led the team in scoring. Besides Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's obviously their biggest name and their best player, he was there, 35 years old. They're bringing him in. He'll be 36, obviously, because of how time works. But they're bringing him in to score goals. He has a proven track record of scoring goals. He's up there, but he's only on a 1-year deal. So being up there in age, not so much concern. 1 year, show me, and they'll go from there. I like Radim Vrbata. I love this signing. I think the fact that he doesn't have to be the leading scorer on the team lets the Panthers use him in more creative ways. They can play him on the second line with Vincent Trocheck. I think that'll be awesome. I'm excited to see that. He doesn't have to be the guy. You know, Barkov has to be the guy. Huberdeau has to be the guy. I think Dadonov, to some extent, has to be the guy, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And then Ekblad has to be the guy. Yandel has to be the guy. You know, Radim Vrbata's down there. He's like 6th, 7th on the guys we need to kick some butt list. Which takes the pressure off of him, and it also makes it easier for him to kick some butt because teams probably aren't going to be game planning for Radim Vrbata. They're going to be game planning for James Reimer, Aaron Ekblad, Alex Barkov, Vincent Trocheck, Jonathan Huberdeau, right? Those are the guys they're going to be game planning for. So Vrbata is a good signing, you know, starting to bring in the depth in free agency that the team has needed. I know that they've just shed a bunch of stuff and the roster is still up in the air. But Vrbata will probably play in the second line with Trocheck. We'll kind of see what this roster shapes into. I'm not even going to try projection-wise to do this roster prediction. We're going to wait until, you know, the rookies kind of and we get into training camp and we figure out which rookies are going to make it, which prospects are going to make it, which and who's going to fall where, because there's still a lot of holes in this roster. And it's clear now that the free agency rush is gone that these guys, some of these guys, these young guys are going to come in. You know, is Owen Tippett going to make the team? Who knows? We'll figure it out, right? We'll figure it out as it gets closer. Now, the other guy, I'm running in circles here. But the other guy is Evgeny Dadonov. He was originally a third-round pick from the Panthers in 2007. He went back to the KHL after playing with, I believe it was Carolina. Let me see, I got his stats page here. So he went from the Panthers, who drafted him, right back to the KHL, yeah. He moved around the KHL, found his way in 2014 to SK St. Petersburg, they're kind of the Yankees of the KHL, and he hit a stride in the KHL. 53 games, 46 points in 14-15. In 2015-16, 46 points in 59 games. And then this year, 2016-17, again in St. Petersburg, 66 points in 53 games. That was good for, I believe, 6th in KHL scoring. And he was one of the three big KHL names that are rumored to have come, that were rumored to be coming back to the NHL. The first was Shipachyov, who is signed in Las Vegas. Obviously, the Panthers have Evgeny Dadonov. And then Ilya Kovalchuk is confirmed now. He is staying in the KHL. What he's going to do is he's going to let the last year of his contract with the Devils expire and then hit the free agent market in the NHL as an unrestricted free agent. So they're not going to have to do a sign and trade with the Devils. Apparently, the Devils were asking too much, and it kind of hurt what Kovalchuk was going to be able to get and where he was going to be able to go. And so he is just going to wait. He's going to stick around the KHL one more year and then go back. And so the Panthers are not out of it, but they're not getting him this year. So we're kind of postponing Kovalchuk rumor, the Kovalchuk rumor gate until a little bit further into next season. But as far as Dadonov is concerned, he's a great winger, 5'10", like 185 pounds, so kind of slight, small, fast, great mitts, great shot. Maybe needs some help on the defensive end. We'll see how his game translates back to the NHL after leaving. Dale Talon has said that he is a completely new player from when he was with the Panthers, and his numbers bear that out. His performance bears that out, from being basically a third of a point a game roughly in the NHL to being 3/4 of a point per game player in the KHL. I'm excited. Talon said that he wants to play him with Barkov and Huberdeau. I think the speed, the dynamism, the vision, the hands, the shot, that's going to be an incredibly exciting first line to watch. I'm so excited for it. If there's one thing that I'm like waiting, October cannot come fast enough for, it is this line. I want to see this first line in action. There's some fans who are maybe getting a little bit excited with how amazing this first line is going to be, but it's going to be good. I hope. I'm expecting it to be good. Now, this is the sad part of the podcast. We're going to leave on a sad note today. We're going to start on a sad note. We're going to leave on a sad note. Shake things up a bit, right? Podcasts are always trying to please their listeners, make them happy. Well, not me. Not me. I want to make you guys sad. We're going to talk about Jaromir Jagr. He is not coming back. The ageless wonder. He has no contract offers right now from any NHL teams. His bobblehead is currently sitting on my desk. It is the one thing that will fit on this fold-up table besides my laptop and a microphone. That's the bobbleheading. Jaromir Jagr, second all-time in NHL scoring. I was there. I was in the building. I watched that shot bounce off his butt versus the Bruins. I watched him get that golden stick from my favorite bald TV guy, Randy Moeller. And you know what? His impact on the team, you can't quantify it. But it's apparent. It's readily apparent. Just the fact, one, that he's a fan favorite, but two, like, if you listen to the way, like, if you listen to kind of clips from Barkov and Huberdeau, if you listen to them talk to the press, they talk about Jagr all the time. Trocheck talks about Jagr all the time. Bukestad, Ekblad, they talk about Jagr all the time because he is 45. He's with the Panthers for 3 seasons, and he knows what it's like to win. Every now and then you get this tweet that Jagr's in the gym. It's 1 a.m. 44-year-old guy, living legend. Like, that rubs off on guys from the day-to-day in the locker room, prepping for games, prepping for workouts, practicing, eating right, showing up mentally prepared, all that stuff. That wisdom is imparted on them. And so much more, too. Like, I can't even begin to fathom, probably, because I'm not an NHL player. I have not played hockey. That is not on rollerblades before, which is probably not a great thing to admit, but I can't, like I said, I can't quantify the impact. But it's there. Now, Jagr's leaving is, on one hand, bad, because nobody wants to see him go. Living legend, amazing leader, great influence. So you don't want to see him go, but there's also a positive note. So Jagr was slow, got a lot of hooking penalties. This team wants to get faster. And Jaromir Jagr is slow as dirt. He might be slower than dirt. He is so slow. And we saw that in the playoffs, in that series versus the Islanders. He generated chances, and he's still a positive possession player, and he still is an NHL player. I'm not saying that Jaromir Jagr does not belong in the NHL. Jaromir Jagr is an NHL player. But on a team who in the past couple weeks has said, faster, 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 we want to get faster, all about speed, Jagr just does not fit anywhere in that picture. And he certainly doesn't fit on the first line of this team. Jagr made an offer to the Panthers to come back. He wanted to come back. But just the team's vision for what they wanted the roster to look like, whatever they want it to look like, does not, it involves speed. And Jaromir Jagr is not that guy. I want to see him go somewhere. I want to see him win a cup. I want to see him do something awesome. I want to see him play until he's 50. I want to see all the Jagr stuff, man. I freaking love this guy. But his time with the Panthers has unfortunately come to a close. So, I'd like to, before we go, say thank you. Thank you, Jaromir. Thank you for helping the young players grow. Thank you for, in your departure, hopefully giving them some guidance and some wisdom, and giving them the opportunity to take leadership of the team. They were not going to take leadership, and I'm speaking to you, bobblehead, Jaromir Jagr. They were not going to be able to take control of the locker room if you were still there, because everybody looks up to you. Every NHL player in the league right now looks up to you because you are unfathomably good at hockey. You are so exceptionally talented. So thank you for letting the young guys take charge. Thank you for your contribution to the team, helping us, with the positive press and just your performance and your tutelage. Thank you. Now, go and fly. Find a contract. Win a cup. I love you, Jaromir Jagr. I'm sure Panthers fans everywhere love this guy. I'm probably going to get chewed at for my man crush here, but man, what a player. What a player. And what a teacher, too. So that is it for me on this episode of Rats in the Rink, my very first episode. It was not perfect. I'll say that. It's been about half an hour here. Not perfect. I thought that I was going to go and I would be, Don Cherry in the flesh. Let me tell you something there, boys. And, that was not me. But I thought we did okay. First episode, we're doing good. So thank you guys. I'm going to shut her down. Just want to reiterate, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for hopping on the train with me, starting this journey with me, helping me learn. Please let me hear your feedback. I want to know what I stink at, what I'm good at, what you liked. What should I talk about in the next episode? I want to try and do these every Wednesday, release every Wednesday, just do a weekly podcast. And so I'm going to try and figure out how to make that happen. I'm going to try and figure out how to add some more production values, add some transitions, add some music, maybe get an intro. Until then, just going to talk, just going to vent to you guys and kind of give my opinions on a lot of tasks here. I want to figure out how to get some guests once I kind of get my feet under me and get a little better at this. But man, until then, this is Rats in the Rink. This was our first episode. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.